amidst the ongoing diplomatic row, first India sent back the Canadian diplomat and now has issued a travel advisory for Indian diaspora in Canada and those contemplating travel to Canada as well. In a huge setback to the Canadian rapper Shubhneet Singh, also known as Shubh, his India tour has been cancelled after he faced backlash for supporting the Khalistani movement in a controversial post on his Instagram in March earlier this year. Shubh was embroiled in a major controversy when he shared a distorted map of India which showed Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab omitted out of the country. Now, during the crackdown on Khalistan leader Amritpal Singh is when this particular post came out. Shubh had sparked allegations of being a Khalistan sympathizer and since has been at the brunt of controversies. In fact, Indian cricket legend Virat Kohli has also boycotted the rapper by unfollowing his social media handle. BJYM workers blackened the posters of the rapper and that have surfaced on the internet as well. Big banners and posters of his now cancelled shows were also removed across Mumbai. Not just that, his tour sponsors have also pulled out of the deal, expressing anger over his allegiance to the K movement. The message is loud and clear: zero tolerance for Khalistan terror, even in the name of art, and any insult to India's sovereignty will not be entertained. Let's open up this debate and take this across to our guests who are joining us. With us at the moment is Terry Milewski, who's author of the Blood for Blood, 50 Years of the Global Khalistan Project. We also have with us Sushant Sareen, who's a senior fellow of the ORF. Vivek Srivastava joins us at the moment. Terry Milewski, are you surprised at all by the kind of response that we've received here in India to this kind of a distorted map of India? I mean, which country would tolerate, a prominent singer or an artist in the name of art actually showing maps, darkened, discolored, or even perhaps, if one may choose to interpret it that way, dismembered?
Well, I have to tell you that the protests against these concerts and the cancellation of these concerts is very helpful in Canada. And I say that because in Canada, there is long been an assumption by people who don't necessarily follow these things very closely. There's been an assumption that Sikhs are all Khalistanis, and that the Sikh diaspora, of which Canada has the lion's share in the world, that they're all Khalistanis, and that this is what most people want, and the people in India want Khalistan because this is what they are told. And they are learning now for the first time, thanks to the protests against Shubh and his map, they are learning for the first time that, oh, maybe I got that wrong. Because this is a popular protest. This is this isn't the government banning a singer or a rapper. This is a popular protest against this person because of his affiliation with the Khalistanis. And this is going to be educational for Canadians who, as you well know, are in the midst of this huge row with the Indian government over precisely this issue. What to do about the Khalistanis in our midst. And this is going to be a lesson, I think, to a lot of people who are going to look at this and say, maybe they're not connected with mainstream media, but they do know about this rapper. Younger people in particular, maybe it's going to help them to look at this and say, oh, maybe I've got that wrong. And that's going to be quite helpful, I think, because the Liberal Party of Canada, which happens to be the governing party, does seem to have the idea that they need to pander to and indulge and even promote the pro-Khalistan element within the Sikh diaspora. Right. And they may have to notice this too. Oh, that's interesting. It's not popular in India, really.
Okay, let me bring in some of our... Can you please stay with me? Please stay with me. Let me go across to some of our other panelists as well. Vivek Srivastava is a political analyst joining us. Vivek Srivastava, freedom of speech is one thing. But can you actually support, can any Indian support an artist who distorts the map of India? Jammu, Kashmir, Punjab, darkened, dismembered, whatever you choose to call it. The Northeast is not even present. Can any Indian, any right-thinking Indian justify this kind of behavior?
Yes, you are right. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You are absolutely right. Nobody supports him. Nobody supports changing of the Indian map. We are all over here political people and we are all patriotic over here. However, you see, you have to understand one thing. The other part is that we have got a very poor way of handling diplomatic relations with any country, and this government is not doing well at all. Your G20, the Chinese and the Russians were almost absent when the top leadership was not there. They're still saying G20 was a success, so they don't participate. You say I'm a Vishwaguru, and Joe Biden goes to Vietnam and speaks against you that I talked to Modi about human rights and other issues. Now you talk of Canada, this country is there. You have not been, I mean, see, these problems are sorted out politically, diplomatically, when both the foreign ministers sit and talk about it and sort it out. And instead of
you want the government to intervene when a rapper puts a distorted map of India, sir? Then you'd be saying the government is acting in a draconian fashion.
The government should have, the government should know whom to give the visa and whom not to give the visa. Why are you giving him the visa in the first place? I mean, if that is an issue, I mean,
okay.
see, they are not talking to the Canadian government. They are not trying to educate the Canadian government. They are not trying to, invite them to India.
So the Canadian government is not engaging in vote bank politics, according to you.
What people are.
They're not placating parties which are seen to be pro-Khalistani for their own votes. That's not an issue, according to you.
You see, it may or may it may or may not, but I think it's the failure of the Indian Foreign Ministry.
Okay, it's the failure of the foreign ministry. Sushant Singh, please respond to that. Failure of the government, failure of Indian diplomacy, failure of the foreign ministry. Why did you grant a visa? Why were not reaching out to Canada? Some questions coming in from Vivek Srivastava.
So, I think Vivek is being rather presumptuous when he thinks that we haven't reached out to Canada and we haven't taken up this issue of these Khalistanis with the Canadians. It's been taken up with them for years on end across different governments, not just the Modi government, even before that. And there hasn't been much a gift from the Canadian side. They've always stonewalled it. They've always protected these guys. Some governments in Canada have moved a little bit on this, but most of them have kind of just sidestepped this issue. And they've actually played along with many of these Khalistanis, the Trudeau government in particular. So for Vivek to say that, why aren't you taking this up? We have taken it up, and sometimes very, very strongly. I don't know if Vivek has been following the trajectory of India-Canada relations over the last couple of years. We've issued protests, we've issued all kinds of things. So one is that. Secondly, on this whole business of, and to some extent I agree with Vivek, but in a different context. I don't think Shubh, if he holds a OCI card, actually needs a visa to come to India. And I think the OCI cards are becoming a big problem as far as Canada is concerned, and the government of India needs to review it. And there is some talk that maybe this is going to be reviewed. Thirdly, I think there is this whole issue of, this Punjabi music industry. In some ways, the Punjabi music industry is as problematic today as Bollywood was in the 80s and 90s when the mafia was running Bollywood, or at least imposing itself in Bollywood, both through financing as well as a lot of other stuff.
No, I get your point, but Sushant, not that I necessarily subscribe to this view, but there is one view being expressed online as well. There's a lot of outrage. There's a lot of outrage offline, online on this, but there are some who are saying that he apologized for that post. He's clarified. So why not let it go? What would you respond to that?
Have you ever heard his music? Have you ever heard most of the Punjabi music? Forget the beats, to which most people sway and they don't understand the words. If you look at the words, they're the most toxic lyrics you can ever come across. They are misogynistic, they're casteist, they preach violence, they actually glorify drugs. It's madness. This music is part of the problem in Punjab today.
And there is a section of them who also glorify some kind of separatist sentiment, many would say. That's also certainly very problematic, and certainly we would like that these issues are addressed. Of course, this particular issue come out in the social media space, and like Terry Milewski said, it's got nothing to do with the government. It's just people who are completely outraged about this kind of behavior, who are saying that enough is enough, that this kind of behavior, this kind of glorification of violence, of separatism is certainly not acceptable. We'll have to leave it there, gentlemen. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Certainly we haven't heard the last word yet on the story, but for the moment we'll have to leave it there. Terry Milewski, Sushant Singh and Vivek Srivastava.